Talking Who! Oh yes! Oh yes!
An impossible astronaut will rise from the deep and strike the time of the dead.
My time is running out.
And this is where it begins.
One last trip, eh? It's time.
Hello and welcome to Talking Who. We're back. Series 2.
Series 2 of Talking
Series
Who.
2 already. On to Series 2. We're back. We had to take a break. Doctor Who was off the air. It's still off the air. It's coming back soon. But we have Torchwood to talk about.
Indeed.
And we also have a special guest with us for this episode. You may recognise him a bit better if he was blue.
Also, we could do some digital altering on that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Hi,
Please
everybody.
welcome Simon Fisher-Becker.
Hi there. I hope it's not as cold as it is here.
Well, we turned down the heat to try and get you a bit blue.
Yes.
Well, welcome, Simon. And,
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's great to be here.
And for those who are watching those video guys earlier, we were just explaining how we met Simon.
You
Which
did
was
indeed.
at the London Film and Comic Con, where we started to interview him and then got subsequently banned from interviewing him.
I thought I'd never see you again.
But it worked out for the best because he's now live right here in the studio in our library. Welcome to the library.
Yes.
Yeah,
This is
I'm live.
If you've got questions, we're going to be monitoring the Ustream chat room rather than the YouTube chat room. So if you're watching on YouTube, try and come over to our Ustream page. Ustream.tv/user/YTV.
Open up an account, get on the message board, throw us in some questions. The more questions we get, the better.
Wow, that was the trailer for Series 6.2.
Oh, I'm excited. Are you excited?
Have you seen the trailers already playing for the?
Oh, absolutely! I'm really excited.
Yes.
Because I've been a Whovian.
Whovian.
Well, no, I just call myself a follower of Doctor Who since William Hartnell.
Really?
Yes, because I'm older than Doctor Who.
Well,
That's quite exciting, though.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those William Hartnell stories and Patrick Troughton
I was
stories,
actually just
they're
thinking that.
missing.
You've seen
Yeah. You've
stories
seen them.
I will
Yeah,
never
well,
be able to see.
I was born in 1961, so my memory of the entire William Hartnell series is somewhat smudged.
Sure.
But I do distinctly remember him changing to Patrick Troughton.
Well,
Fantastic,
I
yeah.
distinctly remembered the change from John Pertwee to
Ah,
Tom Baker.
Yes.
And I do remember as a kid watching John Pertwee, but it was very much with Tom Baker that he was my doctor.
Yes.
On the show.
He was the longest serving.
He was.
Longest serving, yes.
So I didn't see John Pertwee turn into Tom Baker, so I just watched Tom Baker from almost from the start.
Yeah.
And so I had to wait several years to actually see a regeneration.
Yeah.
In 1981.
But I do like them to be long gaps between me, because I always think,
he's a bit careless, otherwise he's just dying all the time.
But I'm just thinking from the actor's point of view, it's great to see an actor really delve into the character and explore. I mean, I felt Peter Davison and Christopher Eccleston both. I would like to have seen them both do it a bit longer, because I felt they could have actually done. I think Peter Davison left a season too early.
Sure.
I think Christopher Eccleston left about 3 seasons too early.
And definitely
And-
Colin Baker left.
Yeah,
way too early.
he left at least a season too late. But
But there's you know the stories that they were planning with Colin Baker. There's potential classics. Until unfortunately they did the trial of
you
time.
want to know something else? Somebody recently just said, I was reading an interview with the creators of Big Finish, and they said, as far as they were concerned, Time Flight was a classic.
Well, Time Flight is a classic.
Because it's a good story, and I mean, just talking about because it's a good storyline, but it's terribly directed. So just because
yes,
something you may have heard, the storyline sounds good, but it's the presentation, the whole execution, everything is important as well. So
yes, Jabba Moose says needed more Chris Eccleston as well.
Did you enjoy Chris Eccleston's run?
I loved it all. I mean, I'm constantly asked who was my favourite Doctor, and it's a difficult one. It's a bit of a minefield, really. But my answer is they're all excellent for different reasons.
I agree.
And of course, there's the forgotten Doctor.
Paul McGann, Peter Cushing.
Yes.
Peter Cushing.
Yeah. I mean, talk about having a brief entry. Paul McGann.
No, but Paul McGann has
he
actually been doing the audio
absolutely,
plays
but on screen, and a lot of
yes.
people only come to Doctor Who initially through the screen, so they wouldn't know who Paul McGann is. But no, I mean they're all good. I think a nod has to go to William Hartnell.
Oh, yeah,
because had he not created it,
if he hadn't done it
so
as well as he did,
then
there
the
wouldn't
BBC,
have been the audience
that's
for
it.
it.
And the BBC wouldn't have wanted to continue it. And then you have to give another nod to Patrick Troughton, because the concept of regeneration and an actor taking on a role in the 60s was very, very, very rare. I think it had been done once before, but so that was extreme courage.
Yeah,
you got to give but on all the others, I mean, John Pertwee is completely bizarre, I thought, in his dandiness. And Tom Baker with his long scarf and his jelly babies. I mean, it's all fab. Absolutely fab. So my answer is every single Doctor is excellent for and I have to say, Matt Smith is superb.
What I was absolutely shocked about was when they announced Matt Smith. I was like, oh my god, he's like what? He's like
12,
19 years old. I had these nightmare images of him in the TARDIS with Catherine Tate, with her being like his mum or something. And
you imagine because he was so young.
Yes.
David Tennant started a Smugfest, but Matt Smith was suddenly going to just be all about like. Teenage girls.
Originally I thought, are they trying to do a Twilight thing or what? And I just thought it just seemed horrible to me. And yet his performance,
he's a great
actor. It's so nuanced, and I just think there's something about him. To me, I actually get the impression that he's watched a lot of the actual Hartnell episodes. If he really comes across very much as he's a young body. But you definitely get the impression this is an ancient soul within it. And, that I think really takes an amazing talent as an actor to be able to convey something like that.
You have to give full credit to him, really, because David Tennant, was a tough act to follow.
I said, when Matt Smith first started, I said, this is going to be like Peter Davison following on from Tom Baker. Where you've had somebody who's just been so popular, so embodied the role, is going to be no matter how good they are, they're just not going to be able to escape from that shadow. Yeah, I actually think Matt Smith has. I think the general public have accepted him with open arms because he's just done such a good job of it.
I guess because he does feel like this is Doctor Who. I mean, David Tennant opened up to whole new audiences.
Yeah.
But Matt Smith, I think he's done very well keeping that audience, but he's also rewarded the long-term fans as well.
Well, I think what also helps is that you've got such good scripts for the show at the moment as well. Superb. And also Karen Gillan is so watchable. It's like, I could watch her all. I could watch her reading the telephone directory.
Of which, of course, both her and Rory are supposedly coming back in.
Well, that's going to be interesting, because this is the first time on new Doctor Who that a companion has returned for a third season.
Yes.
Oh, well, there we go.
But the hints have been that perhaps they might not necessarily be there for the whole series.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean,
spoilers.
But they also they have been. You can tell they love giving out a lot of rubbish.
Well,
to
tease.
Yes.
But Sarah Jane Smith left halfway through a series.
Yeah. Oh no, it was very common in what was it like in Peter Davison's last season. Like one story Tegan leaves, the next story Turlough leaves, the next story he meets Perry, and then the next story he regenerates.
And I think if that's the idea, that perhaps they're only there for part of the season, but we get a new companion maybe halfway through. I think that's great, because
it's a good way if they introduce a companion before Rory and
others
Amy leave,
Indeed.
that's a way of getting the audience to accept that new companion, because you're watching it with them and you've got a nice transition period instead of just a cold...
But also it helps take it away from like there has to be a story out from the episode 1 and end at episode 13. You know, it should be mixed up a bit. You know, let's mix it up a bit.
How do you feel about River Song? Do you feel like she could be regarded as a companion?
Well, yes, I suppose she could. I don't see why not. They've done enough adventures together. River Song, we know River Song is a companion in the Doctor's future. Time is timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
It'll be interesting to see if they maybe recast River Song when she does become a companion, because if they're going backwards through her timeline.
Well, yes, indeed, yes, a younger actress portraying a maybe teenage or early 20s River Song. Who knows? You got some questions?
We've got some questions here, but they're only giving like a line here. If you see.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Let's have a look in our chat room here. Ellis Hampton says, "Simon, do you get annoyed people saying you're feeling a little blue?" Oh dear. The jokes are coming in already.
Well, actually, you know, I found that I tend to say similar comments myself. Like when I'm asked questions, I'm often saying, "Oh, it came came out the blue," and it's only now that I sort of have to hesitate and think before I answer. Now I've got no problems at all.
Joking aside, though, I mean, it means that your character is that iconic.
Yes.
You know, that you could be just identified that way.
No, I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised at the huge response from the fans. But the good thing is I'm not easily recognised in the high street. But there have been a few occasions. So no, I have no problems at all.
Would you say you'd probably get more recognised by Harry Potter fans?
No, I don't get recognised by anybody.
No, really?
I'm absolutely. I'm blamed. Yes, yeah, but no. What happened recently? I think she must have been about 8. This girl in the high street. She's coming towards me, and she said, "Mum, look, he looks like the Blue Man." I pulled her away. So, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm so sorry. She could be so rude." And so I looked at the girl, and I just gave her a wink, and walked on and said no more.
Oh.
But there you go. No, I have no problems. It's like at conventions, you can hear from a long way off. Oh look, it's the Blue Man.
Right.
Very few sort of remember Dorium's name, but never mind.
Yeah. Actually, you made an impact on me straight away just with that little internet scene. They had to into the little prequel.
Oh, the prequel.
They had, yes.
Oh, well, that was a. That was out the blue, literally. I was filming one afternoon, and then around 5:30, I was taking a pause, and one of the producers came up to me and said, "Oh, Stephen asked," that's Mr. Moffat, Stephen asked if you would like to do a trailer for this episode. I said, you tell me, when does the word no come into any of this? Right? So I said, "Oh, yeah, fine. It'll be you and 3 other characters." Oh, excellent. So will we get time to rehearse it? Oh, well, not sure about that yet, but the script will be in your trailer at about later this evening, because they was writing it as we speak. So at 5:30 it's been written. By the time I'd finished and got to my trailer, it was about 11 o'clock at night. Got the script, opened it up, and the other 3 characters were mute. So in other words, it was a monologue, which you've seen.
Of course.
And of course it was the following morning that we had to film it. So that's focused the mind, is the politest term I can say. Not much sleep that night, but no, absolute fun. Absolute fun. And the response to the prequel has been amazing.
It was great.
It was a great scene.
Wonderful little scene it was for
yeah.
you.
Oh, but is it not a perfect example of Mr. Moffat's writing?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was so much there that it gave an opportunity to play all the facets of Dorium. All in, what was it, 30 seconds? So he's a bit coy, a bit jolly. I mean, Dorium isn't totally bad.
No,
and he can be a bit silly at times.
I think his
mischievous.
The interest of his character is that he'll just go where the money is, where the deal is.
Yeah. Yes, but there is a reason why he uses money.
Ellis Hampton asks in the chat room, how secretive do you have to be about your Doctor Who role?
Well, and it doesn't have to be any secrets at all because you're not told anything. No, I mean,
do you only get your lines? You don't necessarily see the whole script?
Well, I'm only going from my
Your own
experience.
of course.
My experience, yes, I do get to see an entire script, and we do, before we do any filming, do a read-through of any episode.
Do you have to sign any like confidentiality clauses or anything like that? on the show?
If there is a confidentiality clause, I have to admit I haven't read it, but
Right.
it is expected of you to
Of
keep
course.
to keep
Especially
strong.
if you want to work again.
To keep strong. So, yeah, and but chatting to guys like yourself, you can easily slip of the tongue.
Of course.
You could say something quite innocently, and then you would read into it something different, and the next thing I know, Simon Fisher-Becker says, and I think, did I? No. Is it easy to be confidential? I can be a bit of a gas bag, so sometimes it's a bit. And but fortunately, of course, River Song has this wonderful catchphrase. Spoilers, sweeties.
Indeed.
So if I don't want to have to go, spoilers, sweetie. So it helps.
Well, obviously, if you've got some more questions for Simon, we'll be reading them out later in the show. But first, have you been all watching Torchwood?
Yes.
Yes,
Caught up?
of course.
Yeah.
Of course, the next episode is tomorrow night, isn't it?
It is tomorrow.
Well, actually, I've already seen it because I downloaded it from the States.
Oh, Lordy.
So,
Torchwood Miracle Day. The
Yes.
fourth series of Torchwood, or the first series if you're from America.
Right.
Kind of, really,
Yes,
I
yeah.
suppose, because it's.
well,
Kind
you
of
want to know
be-
something? If it is supposed to be the first series for the Americans or whatever, to be honest, I don't know what you guys think. I really don't think it. I think it'd be actually quite, some extent, difficult to catch up with what's going on. It does feel like it's carrying on straight from the previous 3 series. Like there's no stop to explain that Captain Jack's immortal. It's just taken that you already know that.
Not quite. It
and-
is explained, isn't it? Because
Not really. It's
Well,
it's,
it is.
it's kind of like it's part of the plot line, but it's just I felt it was kind of like taking advantage. You knew
sort of.
this.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's not spoon-fed so much.
Yeah.
I mean, but he does say, but it does, but I should, but I am dying. But that,
No, but
yeah.
it's part of the plot line, but there's no like explanation given to the viewers why he is how he
became
became
that
like
way,
this.
sure.
That
Yes.
he's been around for. There's aspects of that which I feel. You
Yeah.
know, it does feel to me like it's the 4th season of a show.
Yes, there
and
is
there
a-
hasn't been like an introduction episode, which, from my perspective, I'm actually really happy about.
Yes.
You know,
Has
I
there not been one in the States?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, they may feel because the previous 3 seasons all did air on BBC America
Yeah.
and got good ratings on BBC America, and
But I don't know what the audience breakdown is, as whether the BBC America audience is necessarily the same people who subscribe to Stars.
Yeah.
I mean, Stars.
I think it's a very different series, though.
It is.
What
without doubt.
I
It feels very
absolutely, I love it. It's going to take a lot for me not to like Torchwood. Right? But the only thing I do miss is seeing aliens every week, and that's if I'm going to be really picky. I
Yes.
like the idea who's the aliens they're going to have to tackle this week.
Yeah.
Torchwood
So-
is supposed to be about aliens.
Yeah.
And
an
that's-
alien technology.
Yes.
It is
So-
missing, and unless there's some revelation that somehow the morphic fields
Yes.
is an alien conspiracy.
Because
Then I think,
I
you
did
know-
get confused last week because the previous week there was this hint that Jack has given somebody something some time ago, but it didn't seem to be followed through last week unless I fell asleep.
I can't remember now.
Oh, because it just went straight into
Yeah.
Perhaps that's
people
something
getting
that
burnt in a furnace.
Well,
Which was the most dramatic, for
I
me,
have to say,
the
it's
most
very
dramatic thing that's actually happened in the series.
Yes.
But when you're the end of the 5th episode, to me that's not necessarily a good thing. To have waited so long for actually the most dramatic scene to actually have
Well,
occurred.
it's an indictment of what could come. I
mean,
if you take out the element that people never die, if there's too many people on the planet, they will. Common sense tells you at a certain point, you're going to have a Logan's Run element to society.
Of course, indeed.
So, but whether
It is a logical conclusion.
So-
We could all end up as Soylent Green.
yeah,
It's people.
yes. So, but I'm loving it. Yes.
I'm not loving it as much, I have to say.
Why is that?
I think it's been very slow. I think it has been very slow. I think this build up that they got up to the end of the fifth episode, could have probably been done within 2 episodes. It's taken a long time to get to this point.
I do feel that in the previous season, stretching a story across 5 episodes over 5 nights actually worked brilliantly.
Yes, it did.
That was superb.
And
Children
it
of
worked.
Earth is a fantastic series.
It worked amazingly.
And wasn't
I
Peter
think
Capaldi?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yes,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
But trying to do it over 10 episodes, I think is proving a bit too much of a hurdle.
Yeah.
or they should have put more into it. More.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's actually surprising lack of action.
Well,
So
yes,
far.
there needs to be more subplots.
Oddly enough, the episode which I enjoyed the best was the second episode, which effectively was just a filler episode. It's them on a plane to America and somebody poisons Captain Jack. But I just felt
that was padded a bit as well.
But I still I felt there was a lot of action going on in that. There was a lot of comedy, the kind of the Torchwood comedy.
Yes.
I kind of like. And
It's all right. It's my third leg. Sorry.
And that was the episode that I enjoyed the most. I did enjoy it a lot at first when it was dealing with the idea of immortality, but from a dark side of immortality. But now I'm getting kind of a bit bored with this dark side of immortality. It's like, it's just each episode, let's try and find out new ways that why people wouldn't actually want to live forever.
I mean, I am missing the old Torchwood of a story every week, because to me it has been very stretched, this series. Children of Earth was great, a 5-episode miniseries, and it just worked really well. It was kind of scary at times. It was action packed. There was a lot in it, but they really are just pulling this one. And maybe this should have just been a 5-episode miniseries as well. Pack it all in, make it more exciting. It's lacked excitement, I think, up until the end of this 5th episode.
What do you think of the new characters they've introduced? The new Torchwood team.
Rex. Well, this is, it's interesting when you've got a dead lead actor.
It's interesting. I don't think they've played on this enough. That if he solves the problem of what the Miracle Day is, he dies.
I mean, it's actually a really interesting character, and the position they put him in. Obviously, he probably cannot. If they do a Torchwood Series 5, he's probably not going to be in it as a character.
Unless, of course, they find a miracle.
They can find some way to actually cure the people who are still alive, but
the Chloe 24 character.
Yes. Now with Chloe's character, I did think somewhere they just used a formula at some point, and I did think
it's being lifted from Chloe from 24, isn't it?
And I was saying, oh no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. But it's all right once it passes.
Now I felt in terms of political correctness, I was very, very disappointed in this. In terms of political correctness, you have an episode which is just basically devoted to a lot of Captain Jack having gay sex and the other character having a lot of heterosexual sex. And from political correctness, they should have had her and Gwen go off for a bit of lesbian sex as well.
Well, I know a lot of Gwen fans will probably be much appreciative of that comment.
Yes, I mean, I think that's just for political correctness. That's the only reason why I wanted it there.
You never know. We're only at episode 5.
You never know with I swear, who ends up with who on Torchwood. That's part of the... It is actually, I always say, it's kind of like, you know what fan/fiction is.
Well, and as nobody dies, it doesn't matter when you do much. So.
No, her character, the young CIA analyst, seems to be kind of wrong, because she says she works at the CIA. She's an analyst. She does all the background checking for the agents. Yes, when it comes to herself, she breaks all the rules and visits her family. She knows exactly how these people operate because she's the one who reports on.
That's exactly what I was saying. That's what I was saying. No, don't do this. Don't do this. But
And it also, obviously, it was a backstory for her that we didn't necessarily care about, because we really need to know about her family, do we? I mean, not what was it? 4 episodes in. It's a bit late for that, really. But there's but Bill Pullman, fantastic.
Yes.
I'm not sure I really like something like that on a show like this. I really don't like watching something about a child molester.
No, but that's the whole point. How more vile can you get a character?
I mean, he is absolutely compelling to watch in this series. He
Absolutely.
really is. He's just pulls it off fantastically. What a superb actor, really. And to sort of really, he is a disturbing character, but actually you end up kind of rooting for him in this really weird way. It's really bizarre. It's you kind of want to see where he's going to go. It's not like you don't want him to be killed off right now because you want to know
how evil he's going to be.
What's going to happen?
It's a bit like with Teabag on Prison Break, where you want somebody to get their comeuppance, but you don't want them to get their comeuppance until the last scene of the series.
Indeed, no, it's great.
And what was her name who got munched up in the car?
And we've got Dr. Vera.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Which I wonder if Torchwood comes back, if she'll be a regular character, because although she's only been interacting with Rex, she actually feels very proactive.
She's going to be cinders in a second, I guess. She's being burnt alive. Speaking of which, we've had some tweets. And WildTime467989 says, "Why did Vera have to be the first true death? She was my favourite character." Mr. Chuck719, "I love it. Want to know how it ends." But Mr. J. Lucas says Torchwood is a boring, turgid mess. So we've got different viewpoints there. Where do you think? I mean, how do you see this? How do you see them getting out of this one? It's I mean, the US are one episode ahead of us, so you probably know something that we don't know yet.
You've still got another 4 or 5 episodes to go to stretch it out over. Who knows how it's going to... With Russell T Davies, he does, he can go left of field at any point. So I can't believe that something that would be so changing to the whole culture of society, though, and potentially so devastating, would be done by a drugs company for profits.
Indeed.
So I think for realism, there's got to be some other kind of motive, some other kind of force.
This is the other point, really, because I guess because it's being made with the American audience in mind, it's 85% funded by Starz. So as far as Starz are concerned, it's really for their subscribers. Yeah. Is it part of the Doctor Who universe? Because this is such a big story as far as no one on the planet dies. Actually, wouldn't the Doctor have arrived by now to save the day?
I've never really found Torchwood... I've always felt, literally out of all the spin-off shows I've seen for any show, like Xena and Hercules or the Star Trek spin-offs or whatever, it seems almost the most divorced from, you've got Captain Jack, but it's very much got its own... I think he's very much the same he was on Doctor Who, but I feel the feel of the show, the tone of the show, the direction it goes is very... And I feel I can understand a Doctor Who fan not being a fan of Torchwood and a Torchwood fan just being into Torchwood and not Doctor Who. I do feel that their tone and their feel is very, very different. And
no, I absolutely agree.
I would feel very odd to turn on an episode of Torchwood and to see the Daleks turn up.
Yes, but they have had a Cyberman or Cyberwoman, haven't they? In the very first...
I do know that their Torchwood did fight the Daleks, but they did that in an episode of Doctor Who, which is where it made sense.
Yes.
But if they did that in an episode of Torchwood, it would seem
And of
very
course,
weird.
the other thing is, if this is in the Doctor Who universe, where is UNIT? Where are the UNIT soldiers? Sort of where...
Well, that would be in England, the UNIT soldiers.
No,
they're
a worldwide organisation.
Yeah.
So it's... it is, I guess, has gone...
They're worldwide, out of Ealing Broadway.
It's now gone its own way, and it's almost... Torchwood is now within its own universe, really.
Yeah.
But, the ratings have, I think, been okay, haven't they? I mean...
I haven't really checked up on the ratings for it, but... it's saying here it's got around 4 million viewers at the moment, which for a show on in the summer... in August months, actually would be seen as good ratings by the BBC.
Yeah.
Whether there's another series, I think would be more up to Starz and also Russell T Davies than the BBC themselves.
I think I agree with you that if they do another series, that just a 5 episode thing.
Yeah.
and to run it one night after the other, because that was superb.
That
It was
worked
a great
very
series,
well.
It really was, and I guess in some ways it set the bar really high for this one, which this one hasn't been able to fulfill.
I also
feel
feel they can't have a shock factor again like Yanto's death, because they're not going to get rid of Jack, and the other characters.
But Jack, that's another point I suppose about Miracle Days. Jack seems to be his jolly old self, and has not necessarily been changed by the events of Children of Earth, which was very significant for his particular character. Having to essentially murder his own grandchild.
Yeah.
For the sake of humanity. That was the darkest moment of that series. But we still got 5 more episodes to go, and I'd be interested to see where it goes. Any comment? Any talk? I'm sure we've got lots.
Well,
of
we've got some
Torchwood
people
fans.
actually complaining about Outcasts being cancelled. Somebody else says, Ellis Hampton asks, "Where is the Doctor?"
Where is the Doctor?
Yes.
He's out looking for Melody Pond.
He's a Demon's Run, isn't he?
Yeah.
Demon's Run. Ellis Hampton, I would like the Miracle story with hurdles every week, different aliens covering it up. Yeah, that's another point about the aliens not being around. Do you think it will end up being aliens, or do you think it's actually not going to be aliens this time? It doesn't really feel like it's going to be aliens, does it?
Well, it doesn't feel like there's any alien contact at the moment, but as I said myself, you've got to give a motivation for it, and profits for a drug company just seem... There's got to be something else behind it.
Yeah, I am a little puzzled. You've got all these... So they've labelled the bodies 1 and 2 and 3.
Yes.
So what are they apart... So are they just burning ones?
They're burning the ones, yes.
Which seems... That is quite grotesque. What is the point of that? What is the point of doing that?
They're clearing room, I guess, aren't they? If the ones are the ones that are technically dead by any other in the normal world, you're getting rid of them so that you don't then have to pay to look after them. But then the question is,
that could apply to
why,
2s and 3s as well.
Exactly. So, but why would if the company is trying to make a profit out of it? Yeah, why would they burn them?
They, because that's that's my only question that needs to be answered.
It does,
Mr.
indeed.
Davis. Yes, I mean, and it's quite. It's you're burning people alive.
You're burning people alive. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because my personal fear is being buried alive. I mean, if you're going to be burnt alive, it will only hurt for a short while, won't it? So, but I mean.
So, any other thoughts on Torchwood before we move on?
I don't know why she reminds me of Christina Hendricks.
She's quite a fun character, this one, isn't
Yeah.
she? Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying her.
Now, if you go back, you've got an image there I see of the masks from the Soulless ones.
Yes.
Do you think Russell T Davies always used to go on about his favourite image of the Cybermen was the teardrop in the classic Cybermen, and he reintroduced that when he brought the Cybermen back, and I wonder if he remembered that when he had, because it is a very haunting image actually, when you see an emotionless face like that, but with that teardrop there, it creates this bizarre juxtaposition, and I wonder if he remembered that from the early Cybermen.
Well, yes, I'm sure there's I'm sure, absolutely. It's in there for a reason.
Yeah.
You know? And maybe it's a nod to the Doctor Who fans who are watching. So, if you've got any questions for Simon, start thinking about them and start getting them in now, because we'll be moving on.
Yeah.
And any final comments from Torchwood?
How are we doing in the YouTube?
We've directed everyone over, so that's fine. Chris Nothofer says, Simon, do you have any one standalone episode from the whole run of the show that you Doctor Who, of course, that you have some kind of connection with that just made an impact on you?
Well, not an actual episode as such, But what has made a huge impact on me, and I know this is going to sound very sad to some people, but actually seeing the TARDIS, seeing the box, although it was in the studio, seeing that I had to go up and touch it. I know, and I suddenly came to thinking, I must have gone into a trance, because and I found that very emotional, very emotional, and surprisingly so, and that's what sort of registered it more, that I must be more of a fan that I let on, and so touching that, and also now feeling that I'm part of the actual Doctor Who family.
Well, indeed.
Yes,
Indeed,
that's really great, and the camaraderie of the entire team. We have to say, not just the Lovies, but the entire team is superb and just such fun. I know it sounds like a lovey thing, but it's just nice to know when the phone goes and says, "We might need you again." That I know that I'll go off and do a job. That I know there'll be no real hassles other than having to learn my lines. Yeah, so that's the main impact I think it's had on me, really.
And how have you found? Because I mean, one of the unique things about Doctor Who and science fiction shows as well is that, on most TV shows you do the job, and then that's it. You might read a review in the paper, or somebody may stop you in the street. But you do a show like Doctor Who, and then you get invited to conventions or something like this.
Funny enough, without sounding too grand, it is nice that in some ways I'm being treated with a little more seriousness. I mean, purely because of Doctor Who, I'm now invited to universities to give little speeches and talks.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, and this week I've just come back from Durham. They've got some summer schools at Durham University, and I do a series of talks called "The Way It Is"
for drama students.
It was initially that's how it set out. Really, it was for those who've been through drama and music colleges. Yeah. It was just designed to say, okay, you've done 3 or 4 years at drama college. Now you're out in the real world, and this is the way it is, because. There was a time, not so much now, I think the colleges have sort of caught up, but there was a period where drama students would come out and nobody had at any time in the 3 years they'd been there talked about CVs, how you present yourself professionally, how you sell yourself, because you are effectively a one-person industry. And there was no discussion at all, so that was my little niche, and I used to have to flog that idea, whereas now people just phone me up. It's great.
When you got the phone call that they wanted you on Doctor Who,
right?
How did that happen?
Right, no, the first time I had to actually go for a casting.
Okay.
And they saw 7 roly-poly actors. I was sent a script, which was 6 or 7 lines long. That's all. And all it said was, "Large blue man, think Sydney Greenstreet."
Right.
And I'm a big Casablanca fan, so I knew exactly who Sydney Greenstreet is, and it told me exactly what they wanted Dorium to be.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I went for my casting, Tottenham Court Road, and I was the lucky one. So I have to thank Stephen and the other production team for choosing me. And so that was it. But thereafter, a year later, I get a phone call. They want you back. Cool.
And we've got a question in here.
Yes.
They want to know, when do you think you'll be getting your action figure?
Every time people ask me about the action figure, I just laugh. It's the idea that I'm suddenly going to become an action figure. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I do know that I've been done, as they say.
Oh, really?
Good. Well, because I had no idea. But Peter Hoare, the director of episode 7, whilst we were sitting around waiting for some lighting to be up, he just sort of said to me, he said, "Have they spoken to you about your action figure?" "What action figure?" And that was the first I knew. And then within an hour of that, I had to go off and have funny things stuck on my face and body and have all sorts of odd things done to me. Yeah, so I'm assuming there will be an action figure, but because of what happened to Dorium, it will probably come in 2 parts.
Oh.
Yeah. So whether it'll be out in time for this Christmas, who knows?
Maybe they'll release one half of Dorian this Christmas and the other half next Christmas.
Well, of course, Dorian's lost his head, and all the fans I speak to, they want him to come back. So you never know. They might stick me on another body.
Well, timey-wimey.
I mean, yes, the obvious thing would be to go back in time, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they always do the less obvious.
They do, indeed. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Ellis Hampton, are you told the plot lines before the episode, or are you left in the blue? Oh,
well, no. Very often, as a visiting artiste, you're told hardly anything.
Yes.
But you do get to have an idea of the story. But as I started the story earlier, you do the read through, but then it can be a couple of weeks before you do any filming, and they could have rewritten it completely by then.
Yeah.
But you don't get to read the finished proposed item, and you just do the scenes you want. And of course, they're all filmed out of sequence. You have no idea where you are, what you're doing.
Or
how it all fits in,
Yeah.
and you don't know how much of it will actually be kept. Because over my career, I would say 95% of my stuff has ended up on the cutting room floor.
So when you were filming A Good Man Goes to War, did it feel to you that actually this may have been like an end of the series episode, or did you know it was okay? This is the halfway point.
No, I did know.
Yeah.
We did know. We
Yeah.
did know it was
Okay.
the halfway point, and we did know it was the halfway finale. So in that sense, we did know that. But I had no idea what had gone on before. I had no idea what might be going on afterwards. Still don't. I've got to wait until the 27th of August.
Indeed, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
So.
Ellis Hampton again. What's your opinion on the long stretching plot lines of this series? I suppose the story arcs as opposed to individual storyline episodes.
Personally, it's the sort of thing I love.
Yeah.
So, but I do know, because after I met you at Earl's Court, the following week I was actually at a Doctor Who convention in Birmingham.
Okay.
And part of that was I did an interview before an audience, and they were clearly split right down the middle. There are those who love, like me, the idea that it's this extended arc, and each episode is very, very complicated, and there are those who just they just want it spoon-fed to them, and so that has split them, and I think that's what's led to some of the negative press.
Sure.
Which is a little unfair, in my opinion, because after all, it's all a mystery.
Yes.
When you read a mystery story, you don't want the answer on page 1. It's all part of it. But if you say, well, I think what is excellent is like now we're talking about it. We're saying now what's this going to happen? So it's a bit like in football. People sort of talk. Oh, this has happened with with Fulham and Liverpool in the pub talk. Well, you got the pub talk about Doctor Who. You see, oh, this could happen. Oh, that could happen. Oh, now Dorium's dead, but is he dead? How are they going to bring him back? And then there's a whole most bizarre in Birmingham. Suddenly, this whole conversation between the audience, and I was left on the stage, and they were discussing amongst themselves, yes, how they'd like him to come back. And I'm very pleased.
Well, he's not human.
No. I'm very pleased at and I was very chuffed to hear that in some straw poll somewhere, it was actor of the series so far.
Oh,
and I came fourth. All right, which to some people will say, "Oh, why aren't you happy that you were first?" But it was Matt Smith,
Of course.
Arthur,
Yeah.
Sam. How embarrassing! I can't remember his name now. Sam Shepherd. Yes, it was the young.
Mark.
The young.
Mark Shepherd.
Mark Shepherd.
Mark Shepherd.
Mark
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes, Mark Shepherd. Sorry, not Sam.
Good
Shepherd,
old
that's-
Mark.
Yes. Sorry, Mark. Says out for ignoring me at Earl's Court. Yeah. So those three, which fair enough. And then I came fourth.
Oh, great.
So thank you very much, whoever you are who voted for me.
And the older version of Mark Shepherd in
Yes.
that story was actually played by his dad,
Yes.
Morgan Shepherd.
Yes.
It was there as well.
Yes.
I was going to ask that, I completely forgotten.
Yeah.
So I'll go on to another question. Elizabeth Orianis says, what role has been the most challenging for you?
Now this is going to sound very odd, but no role has been challenging. What has been challenging is trying to work out how the character fits in with all the other characters.
Yes.
Not knowing much about the other characters, but the actual characters themselves, particularly if it's well written, which Dorium is, It's not that difficult. I mean, you do think about it. Think, what does that line actually mean? Or if I say it like this, it'll put a different meaning to that. Is that the meaning that they want?
Sure.
So as an actor, the only real difficulty is the pitch. How do they? And you're constantly concerned that you won't produce what they want. And I mean, directors and producers, they are trained to put particularly visiting artists at rest. And calming them down and saying exactly what they want and blah blah blah. But in practice, because of time restraints and goodness knows what else, either they don't tell you, or they assume you already know. So you're then left like the first scene I did with Alex Kingston, no direction whatsoever. So,
Really?
but I took on board Sydney Greenstreet.
Of course, yeah.
So that's what helped me do it. So it was great, and Alex Kingston was back.
On let's say on an episode, The Good Man Goes to War, it's obviously a very action-packed episode. How much rehearsals did you actually have? Or was it really just this read-through and you know?
We didn't really. I mean, we whilst you're waiting for the lights to be set up and whatever, you sort of talk to each other and things in the block. And there is there's scene, and so before the scene, you stand in a circle, and you sort of go through your lines. There's a speed run.
Yeah.
But an actual rehearsal as such, no.
No.
Yeah. So sounds bizarre, doesn't it?
It does sound bizarre. Yeah.
But the trick,
especially when on stories where there's like so much, I guess, special effects have to be added. You would have
but
thought that everything
yes,
is
no,
so far planned.
And yeah, well, it is. It's in it is in the producers and the directors' heads.
Right.
It is planned, and all the technical people know exactly what they want, and us actors just have to get in there and say your lines right. But the trick, and this is only a personal opinion, so I'm not giving a tutorial. The trick is whatever you do it exactly the same, for whatever take, right? And even if you're not necessarily heavily featured in one shot. I mean, for example, the console that Demons run. Consoles, they had the shot here, the camera here, doing the bits when I was doing everything. So when they did a reverse, well, in fact, they were actually talking. It was actually focused more on the Doctor. I still did all my movements exactly the same.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You have to do all your exactly the same, just in case you are seen. Otherwise, what you'll get is somebody saying, "Oh, something's gone wrong with the sequence here." you get it wrong colour tie, and suddenly something was in a right ear and then it'll appear in a left ear. So that's it. Yeah.
There was a question earlier which I can't find it, but how long in makeup were you?
Oh, actually, for me, it was very straightforward. They allowed 2 hours, and the first day, of course, they shaved my head completely. So I don't wear a skull cap. They just shave my head completely. So that takes a little longer. But then it's just paint, body paint plonked on. And the thing that takes the most time is then they put a sort of a black eyeliner underneath here, just inside. But that's about it. And then on the hands. So they allow 2 hours, but it doesn't actually take 2 hours.
Did you have any green screen scenes?
Spoilers, darling. Yes, I did in episode 7.
And how's that?
Yeah, well,
working
it's
on green screen.
Well, in my case on this particular scene, it wasn't actually in front of a green screen as such. They just put a green sock on my head.
Oh, right.
Yes,
okay.
because John uses his head. So.
So that's when you're wandering around without a head. Yes. Okay,
yes.
That's interesting. Ellis Hampton, would you consider playing a different character apart from Dorium in Doctor Who?
Yes, but I
so
would. I would. I mean, as a jobbing actor, you say yes to everything, right? But I have to admit, as a kid, I would have loved to have played the Master.
It's interesting you didn't want to play the Doctor, you wanted to play the Master.
Well, because you see, the Master was, again, a much more complicated character, whereas you see the hero as more straightforward to play. But
you're speaking, of course, having been influenced by the Roger Delgado version of a Master, yes?
Yeah, well, all right from the start, you see. So, I want to play the Master, but now I've got Dorium, I have to say I'd quite like to keep him.
Yes.
So that's a subtle hint to to all the fans to write to Stephen Moffat and say,
Well, you know
I want Dorium back. I want Dorium back.
I think
Dorium
is basically one of a family of completely look-alike brothers.
Oh, I see. So it'll be my twin brother comes up.
There's the Dorium family. There's
So Dorium
12 of them, and they all look identical.
Because that's his alien species.
They
have broods of 12.
So Dorium. So in your mind, Dorium's lost his head. So if Dorium were to come back, it wouldn't be Dorium. It'd be his brother Delirium.
Yeah, Delirium. Yes. No, Delirium's his sister.
Well,
Who looks
I see.
identical as well.
I wonder if maybe they're hermaphrodites. Yeah. See, but there you go. But oh well, okay. That's another one to put in the pot.
And Ellis Hampton again. Would you like to be a part of the 50th anniversary?
Absolutely, no question of a doubt. Even if they just repeated a bit, but I would like to be part of it. No, yeah.
It's an incredible thought, isn't it? 50 years.
50 years. And I have to pinch myself every time, you see, because I watched the programme. I not dreamed of, but I would have liked to have played the Master. And Doctor Who was on my list of I'd love to do. So when the opportunity came along just to do one scene, I was chuffed and over bouncing around like Tigger. Well, I was Tigger on speed when I was asked to do episode 7, because it was from 6 lines to 56 lines.
Yeah,
it was suddenly, oh my gosh, you know.
I remember what you said about Doctor Who being on your list. I always remember when I was at drama college, and they asked us all what roles we would like to play, and about half of the guys there, we had down there, I'd like to play Richard III, I'd like to play Hamlet, I'd like to play this role, and about half of us also put down Doctor Who as well. We got very disapproving looks from our teachers.
It is very strange. It is very strange. You get a lot of snobbery in the industry, and it just makes me laugh, because I'm sure for some people they do think they're plotting themselves a career, and I would have liked a lot of things to have gone differently than they have for me. But bottom line, unless you're extremely fortunate, you have no control over it. Yeah. As I said, a lot of the stuff I've done has ended up on the cutting floor. I was in the first episode of Harry Potter as the Fat Friar, and at the time, it was the biggest thing. I was actually contracted for the first 4 films. And I was
oh, wow.
And we actually had 4.5 weeks' work, 18 scenes, right? And I'm thinking, this is fat. Under no stretch of the imagination would I say it was going to make me a superstar, but I did feel, whoa, this is a good springboard, this will get things going. So naturally I was very disappointed when I end up on the screen for a microsecond or two. In fact, my name comes up in the credits, is on the screen longer than I'm in it. but the royalties are fab.
Because your contract is obviously
it's very difficult, really. This is my personal opinion, and I hope it doesn't come over too negative. I have no control over my career at all.
Yeah.
Other than when a casting comes, I prepare myself properly for it, and do my best, and hopefully they choose me. That's the only control you have, because thereafter, you're the producer of this show, right? Producers are very odd.
Hear that? You're very odd, Elisar.
Yeah, very odd. Well, you spend all sorts of money and you only use half of the material, but for obvious reasons when you look into it. But so you have no real control of it, and now things have gone slightly out of control. I mean, Durham University booked me without knowing the first sentence I was going to say. They just booked it. They saw it on my website and said, "Go and phone me. Oh, can we book you?" That was it.
Amazing.
And more may happen.
So when did you get into acting?
I actually got into it quite late, to be honest. When I was at school, my plan was to be a biology and music teacher. That was my plan when I was at school. But I failed chemistry, so that put the pan on doing the.
But you are into music, because on your CV, I've read it says conductor.
Yes, I have in my time conducted a few symphony orchestras, mostly scratch orchestras put together to raise money for various charities. So, and I can still do that. So that is really good fun. But from school, I didn't go to university straight away. I went into the civil service, and whilst in the civil service, because I thought, okay, whilst in the civil service, I'd like to work for the arts department, which at that time was a broom cupboard in the science department. So anyway, the civil service helped me go make my degree. But by the time, and part of the deal was that I would have to stay with the civil service for 5 years. But by the time came, they wanted to get rid of us, so I was made technically redundant. So with the money they gave me, I did a postgraduate drama, and that was it. So I didn't really. So I got my equity card in 1987. So I say I started then. So that's it. And Denham Elliott was the patron of my college, and he was very, very positive, which helped me. In fact, he said nobody would take me seriously. He said, just take whatever comes along, because they won't take you seriously until you're about 40. And which was about...
Was it right? Yeah.
It was about right, yes. Yeah, so... and he gave us all, in our year, a little present. And my present from Denham Elliott was a starter kit for makeup.
Okay.
Which is so ironic, because it's hardly used nowadays. But I can do it if it needs to be, so that's how it all started, really. Yeah.
Travi G says, I want to see Delirium.
Are you?
We all do. Stephen Moffat's going to be getting these letters and emails next year. He's going to
Who's the hell's Delirium?
This?
Yeah. All right.
I suppose there's also potential that maybe Big Finish might do stories as radio plays with you.
I'm open to all offers. Yes. Yes. My agent is Kim Barrier at Jaffray Management. Just check out my website, Fisher-Becker.info. You'll find it all there. So that's my pitch.
Great. I don't know if there's probably time for one more. When you see other people in every other shows, you can always guarantee there's always someone who's been in Doctor Who. Do you think you'll always be remembered for playing Dorium?
To be honest, I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
I mean, Dorium is a fantastic character, and it is very pleasing to have a following and praise for something that I have to accept that I did well. I've done good, as the footballers would say. Mm-hmm. I've done good, and it's been recognised. So thank you very much, Mr. Moffat, for asking me to do it. So, and thank you to the fans. Oh, fan mail. All fan mail is answered, but give me time. And stamped address envelopes guarantee a return.
So that's your website, Fisher-Becker.info. Is that where people can find your
agent? No, go. You can go there, and you can find all sorts of things.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Including some clips of Dorium.
So obviously, you'd always wanted to be in Doctor Who. Is there any other TV shows or film franchises that you've always wanted to be in?
Well, things go. I would have liked to have been in a Bond movie, to be honest. I'm not necessarily as the baddie or something, but just I would have liked to have perhaps be Q. So. And I would have liked to have been in Spooks, but I understand the next series is the last.
Yeah.
Oh. The next series, I understand the next is the last. So, never mind. But I'd like to be in the next Phenomenon. So.
I wonder what that will be. Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Oh no, I went up for that.
Yeah.
The swines turned me down.
Well,
it just wasn't that right. The next, because there's characters turning up in that all the time.
It's
well, if they follow the books and series 1 is book 1, there's supposed to be 7 books altogether.
It's supposed to be 7 books, but he's only actually written 4 of them so far.
Right,
takes him about 5, or is it 5
books now? So there's potentially 4 more series at least now.
Yeah, but it takes them forever to write them. They're going to get to a point where they've done all the TV shows and he hasn't written them enough.
But Game of Thrones just seems to be one of those shows at the moment. It's like spot the well-known British and jobbing actors. Everyone seems to turn up.
I like working. Like any actor will say, they just like working. And if somebody wishes to introduce me to something that's going to last for 7 years, I have no objections whatsoever.
So have you all caught up on the prequel?
I actually haven't seen it. No, I haven't seen it yet.
They call it prequels, but they're not really prequels, aren't they? They're prologues. because a prequel has to be made after the fact of the original episode. That it's
Yes.
It's actually a prologue.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a sort of program, and they very often have nothing to do with what's coming in at all anyway.
No. Well,
But,
as you were telling us, they just seem to have been written on the spot.
Well, no, I haven't. I have to say, it was terrible. Oh, because the most bizarre thing whilst filming that as well, they were wanting to ask me questions for the confidential. So I was trying to keep all the words in my head, and she came over to me and she said, "Oh, can I interview for the confidential?" I said, "Yes." I should finish it. No, we'll do it in between. So every time they had to change the camera or whatever, I then had to go and sit in this chair, and she was asking me a question. And of course, you have to answer because you don't hear the interviewer asking the question.
Right.
When you answer the question, you have to sort of say what you're answering.
Exactly, repeat the question.
Yeah. So there's all that, and I'm trying to remember the lines as well. But very funny. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Some actors, I suppose, would not want to do that. Right? I suppose be interviewed in the middle of trying to remember learning lines. It seems.
Well, maybe I'm stupid. I don't know, but I thought, oh shit, I've got to do that now. Okay, and in some ways it did help.
Yeah.
In some ways, because it's a bit like when you do.
Maybe that, I guess, because they're asking certain questions and they are privy to certain information. About
When you do a
as well.
stage play or a pantomime, if you're a main character like a dame, there is so much you've got to do, and so much you've got to think about, and so much things that need to be timed properly, particularly costume changes and things like that there isn't the time to be nervous.
Sure.
When it's time to be nervous is when you're in the last scene of the first act, sort of thing. Yeah. So there isn't time to be nervous, and you just focus, and it all goes very quickly.
Redder says, I was very sad when Dorium died.
We all were.
Oh, has Dorium died?
Spoilers.
Spoiler. Wow. Okay. So maybe there's a clue there. And what's coming up? Anything new that we can look forward to?
What, in Doctor Who or?
No,
in-
you generally.
Oh, me
career,
generally.
yeah.
I've not got any telly coming up.
What's your pantomime this year? Is that
I've not got any
no?
panto. No. The reason I've not got panto this year is because I was booked to do an Italian film.
I suppose.
Called
I
The
thought
Wrath
you were
of
about
the
to say because
Crows.
you're booked to do Doctor Who.
I'd like to think it. And it was supposed to be filming October to January,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
and that's all. It's all been
And that-
postponed.
Oh.
So, but I don't. If there's anybody else out there who would like would like a pantomime day or a blue genie, just call Jaffrey Management. Yes, details on my website. Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was fantastic. This obviously will be up on YouTube, so
Yes.
we'll be able to tell you the address for people to. Well, you can send people to come and see it. A couple of things, interesting things. Someone's actually making a TARDIS corset.
Oh, no.
Could be a
I
good-
just
could be
don't
a
know
good-
how to respond
It
to
could
that
be
at
a
all.
good gift for someone.
It's bigger on the inside, isn't it?
Well, apparently, yes.
Yes.
So, and for all your computer needs, there's
Yeah,
a
USB hub.
USB hub,
You.
which you can plug in.
Well,
up
I
to
have
4
to-
different USB attachments.
I have to thank Doctor Who. I've been able to replace my bathroom, and so my nod to Doctor Who is I have a very tiny air freshener TARDIS.
Well, when I was a kid, we had Dalek bubble bath.
Well, I did get these Doctor Who flannels,
Yes.
right? And they come in tightly wrapped, and they say when it hits water, it grows. Bit of a fiddle, really. But then there's a lot to cover.
Actually, as a kid growing up, one of my most bizarre pieces of Doctor Who merchandise I had was my Tom Baker underpants.
Was
I
it his
don't know.
face? Was it?
Yeah, I don't know
It
what
was
Tom
his
Baker was
face
thinking about it.
right on your underpants.
That is quite bizarre.
Well, I can. Do we have time? I can tell you the story when I was about 6,
Uh-huh.
which actually will lean into what's been going on in society. I never fitted into anybody's gang. Never fitted in. And of course, when you're about 6 or 7, you want to. And so I was dared to pinch a Mars bar. and there was a sweet shop, and I just ran in, pinched his mum. As I came out, a police car came down the road. I was convinced it was me, so I went running, thinking it was after me. And on the parade of shops at the other end, there was a Thresher's wine off license, and in the window, a giant Dalek. I've never stolen anything since, I can tell you. Yeah,
Police Daleks.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. But yeah, so I was trying to think, as a child, I don't think I actually had any Doctor Who gift. But I remember going to an exhibition, but being so young, I can't remember where it was. And I remember having a debate with my brother.
They had one in, what was it, Longleat?
There was a Doctor Who one in Longleat for a while, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is long.
It
was long
Two
before
Swords as well.
I can't. It must. I seem to think it was in London somewhere, but and of course it was the old TARDIS.
Yes.
So this would have been the late 60s, I think. So it would have been sort of Patrick Troughton, John Pertwee. Pertwee was 70, wasn't he? 70
yes,
1970
he started.
Yeah, so it would have been Patrick Troughton. Yeah, so, and I remember going and being absolutely fascinated and really disappointed because we weren't allowed to touch the console.
Well, they're probably worried you'd fly it away somewhere.
I wonder if Dorium would steal the TARDIS.
Of course he would.
If you could sell it to
There's
someone,
a profit in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe he's the one who broke it in the first place.
Indeed.
Yeah, so who knows?
Well, that's, I think, probably about it then. We are...
So that's 10. It then for this week. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been a hoot. And that's spelt with a W.
Yeah. Put your website up there again for everyone to find you and send fan mail to.
So if you want to stop by on Simon's website, and if you also just want to go on Twitter or email the BBC or write to them, we want to see Dorian back on the show.
Yes, that's it.
Well, actually, I will be appearing at Stevenage. I've completely forgotten.
Oh, right.
Yes, it's in November, but you'll find it on my website.
Yeah.
It's a murder mystery.
Murder mystery weekend.
Well, an evening murder mystery. Yes. A company called murderetcetera.com. That's the name of the company.
Sounds good.
And when's Talking Who going to be back again, Elisar? Is it going to be after the new series starts?
Well, it could be. It could be next week.
Right.
So do you do a post-series episode?
Yeah, we do actually.
We did
one.
Yes. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So, well, if I'm around,
yes, that would
I'd be quite happy to come and have a chat.
We like to wrap up everything. It's every week we're reviewing that week's episode and trying to look forward and trying to second guess what could be happening. And then we also look at DVDs as well. You know, we review our DVD of the week, which we haven't done this time, but next time we will. It's
and we have a look at what's going on in the world of fandom or what the latest.
Yes, because episode 13 is the 1st of October.
Right. Yeah.
It would be well worth watching.
Will it now? Very interesting.
Well, episode 13 will wrap up everything for the stories and must give you a lead into the next series, mustn't it?
Well, I guess, because
maybe the Christmas special.
Because now they've closed the gap between the series and the Christmas. There's no reason why, of course, they can't be linked now to Christmas.
Possibly.
It'd be quite interesting. So, yes, we'll be back. Obviously, we're Talking Who, and tell all your friends when the video's up on YouTube.
Follow us on Twitter.
Share the video with everybody.
We've got the Twitter there. We've got we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on every single social feed that we can find,
except MySpace.
Yeah.
Twitter at Talking Who as well. That'd be great. And so. Tell everyone you know, Doctor Who fans, about Talking Who. This is our second series, and thanks for joining us.
And thank you for joining us, Simon.
Well, no, thank you both very much. It has been
a pleasure.
It's been a hoot, spelt with a W.
Your first experience of internet broadcasting?
Well, I have to say, first experience of actually doing it. I've listened to a few things, but first experience of actually being involved with it. So thank you very much for asking.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.